Hello again and welcome back to Let's Play Kameo. We've finally made it. This is the game's very last level, Thorne's airship. We've already blasted open a convenient entrance point. And if you thought to use Major Ruin for this little morph ball puzzle, you'd be incorrect. Of course, we're supposed to use the game's golden boy, Thermite. These little steel pole bathtubs are your last chance to turn back to Thermite before it's too late. Need his shield ability to avoid taking fall damage right here. And I turned off the shield too early. Took fall damage anyway. So those cannoneers up in the rafters are firing roll trolls upon us. Really kicking off this level right. Really shows that this is the stuff they want you to remember this game by. Just for fun, showing off Chilla's storm ability once again. He had it in the very beginning of the game, and I've hardly used it since. Since its main purpose is to freeze enemies, it was just a waste there, because you can't freeze roll trolls. So now Major Ruin gets his time to shine. That grisly death in the Turbine Thresher is the fate of all these roll trolls. Is quite satisfying after all the pain they've caused me this game. Surprisingly, the physics worked out very nicely during this recording. We certainly had test runs where they were as disastrous as usual, but that roll troll just knocked me into another, and that one to its death, so haven't seen that too often. Strange game of billiards that just happened to happen. All in all, I'm quite glad I got this run on recording and not one of my previous ones. Much to my own surprise, we are very nearly done already. There it is, one more hole in one. And Turbine is done for. I tried to do some celebratory Tony Hawk moves on the half pipe there, and almost fall to my death. Here come the optional trolls for score grinding. No clue how that one managed to catch himself on fire. But I know just the solution. Deep blue. Deep blue. Actually, I'm busting out Deep Blue to show off some moves that he's had for a while but hasn't used. He can sink into the ground like that, and while doing so, he can turn to the drag pool. Pull a single troll down to the watery abyss. Does use up quite a ton of spirit, though. Oh, that recovered. We can show off his other sunken abilities. Grab trolls with his tentacles and start using them as weapons against other trolls. Another inconvenient thing about being sunken into the ground is that anytime you get hit, you pop right out and drop everything you were carrying. That troll there just charged pointlessly into the corner of the room. I tried to make an example of him, make him my next tentacle victim, but he got away. Lost him in the crowd. There is one last move, Grand Slam. If you have two trolls, you can smash them together for an instant kill. I meant to turn it to 40 below there because he also has one last move that I've never showed off before. That's the roller here. You can bust out a snowball and then throw it at people. It'll roll them up. Not terribly useful, especially considering the generally wonky physics of this game. It's not always very fun to use, but this time it worked out very nicely. Again, very glad I got this particular run on recording. So now I'm done playing with these guys. I just want to get one on Major Ruin's spikes before moving on to the next area. Just for fun. Not making it easy, though. Also, that roller nearly killed all of them. They're all at single-digit levels of health, which is not conducive to a maxed-out Major Ruin grabbing them. Accidentally went into Warrior Focus. That does give you a good chance to get the very last one. But he doesn't survive the ramp. Oh well, there'll be plenty more trolls to play with. So here's our next turbine. And its future occupants. Before we really get to have our fun, though, the trolls open fire on themselves in a desperate attempt to get at us. At this point, Kameo's like a spider in their hair that they're just desperately thrashing at to get rid of. They are wisely just out of range of the bombs. Could still take them down with Chilla, but it would take too long.
These are the
For the first time in the game, I'm going to equip the Eye of Protection. We got it way back in the Ancient Tower, and I never even mentioned its name. Basically reduces most of the damage we take to virtually nothing, at the cost of offensive power. And for the most part, it has been wildly inferior to the first Crystal Eye we ever picked up with the Eye of Regeneration. Except for in this one specific instance, because you don't want to have the Eye of Regeneration's drawback, which is lower spirit regeneration. And since damage doesn't matter, because we're instantly killing everything in the turbine, the Eye Protection is, in this one specific instance, slightly preferable. And armor trolls are slightly too heavy to pick up with the tentacles. Pretty much our only choice is Snare. Even in my first run through the game, where I only used Snare to grab Magmites when I had to, I still used him for this part because he's the best choice. And it's essentially the same as using these guys for Magmites. Try to do some creative killing, but they just bounce out of the way at the last second. They'll do it the right way. That guy's gonna wish he had a turbine there to end it a little more quickly. At least he's got a friend. Just gonna go into Warrior Focus here so that I can navigate the broken door a little more easily. Not that it matters. With the Eye of Protection, it would do virtually no damage. Still no one left out here. So, moving on. We got some elf pseudo-friends here. Not particularly eager about their involvement. So I try to get rid of them in the turbines, but they just bounce off. Like Kameo, they just won't grind up. I sent another zeppelin after us. This time it's not shooting cannonballs, but arrows. It's actually a little bit more annoying, but are just close enough that we can explode them. Just a fatal mistake on their part. There we go, that should make things easier. Wipe out those elves because they're distracting those trolls that I want to play with. Those two regular trolls are actually kind of fun. The armor trolls, those guys suck. Just get rid of them. And there's the elf trying to run into the turbine, but failing. bounces off. That takes care of that one. Only one remains. Since the turbine doesn't work, I thought I'd try and fling him off the edge here. But the direction didn't work out. Taking out my frustration on this guy. This time the direction did work out. Can't bite the elf, but there's something we can do that I haven't shown off. You can root snare in place and then smash his head back and forth like a mace. That damn elf killed one of my good trolls. You'll pay for that, elf. There we go. He's finally dead. Try and lure them over here, get them to kill themselves and each other. At this point in the game, Kameo has killed every single terrestrial troll, has an army of deity-like creatures at her disposal, and crystal eyes that make her invulnerable. So she's just savoring these last few kills before the end of the game. What I really wanted to do was get that last unarmored troll to start a charge attack while facing the turbine, thereby hurling himself directly into it and causing his own death. Because I saw that happen once in a test run, and it was pretty much the best thing I've seen in the entire game. Tragically, it's not going to happen. It's around at this point that I realize he's not going to do that charge attack. So I'm just going to try and flip kick him from there. There he goes. And he explodes into bits. Which automatically makes him way better than the armor trolls who just disintegrate. And there's another turbine down. I'm not even going to bother going into warrior focus for this door, but I'm going to try and bring a friend. Doesn't work out though. Even though he fell behind the door, he disappeared. I think he despawned. I don't think the game wants us dragging him out here. But that unlocked the little hole in the floor here. And once again, I failed to realize that thermite is always the answer.
So far.
Should have used his shield ability to mitigate that fall damage. A little hesitant about jumping through these blades, which cost me another hit. But I've got the Eye of Regeneration on now, so as soon as that kicks in, I'll be fine. And this shows off about the only time where it is vaguely reminiscent of the boss levels from Mario 3. Seems like a wasted opportunity. And the last Glassjaw troll in the entire game. And he's surrounded by armor trolls, which once again forces us to use thermite.
Flex.
I haven't mentioned it before, but the Glassjaw trolls in these last two areas are resistant to Pummelweed's uppercut move. It'll still set him to vulnerable, but only for about half a second, which isn't nearly enough time to ready your spears. So you basically have to use thermite, which is pretty much the worst thing about these last two levels, the amount in which they force you to use thermite. This isn't officially one of the turbines that we have to break. It's merely here in case you want to do some more exploding executions on the enemies, which I certainly do. It's just slightly too high off the ground to use anything but snare's bite attack for it, though. You can occasionally get lucky and cyclone them. These are all optional enemies. Just having a bit of fun. Two trolls in the turbine at once. I think this area is sufficiently carpeted with gore. Or perhaps not. There we go, now I'm satisfied. So rather than moving on normally, I'm gonna nuke this next area. We'll be seeing why in just a second. The bombs bounce off an invisible wall because they don't want you to nuke the next area.
From here.
But the cluster bomb effect will still drop enough bombs on the enemies below to solve your problems. Your problems being that this would normally be about 10 albino trolls that this cutscene is showing. I did not want to have to deal with it. Most of them survive by dashing into cover. That's fine, they're optional anyway. This zeppelin before us, we actually want to set free from its chains. This is the zeppelin we actually caught a ride up to the airship on. And it's infested with bug people from Snowtop. So it opens up our next area. I try to descend gracefully, but of course fail. Normally a very annoying area. I killed a couple of those albino trolls, which makes it much less annoying. We still got imps. And of course my goal is to drag pool an imp. They're not making it easy. It'll be worth it. To the deep with ya. So that's all I wanted to accomplish. Move on to this needlessly difficult platforming section. Because that top part is curved slightly down, so if you are Major Ruin when you land on it, you'll roll back down. Throwing 5 bombs at my feet to add insult to the injury of my platforming failure. Someday I will make it up there. They somehow got a bomb up onto the second platform there. Just wave goodbye to our bug friends. They're having none of it. They just want me to move on. There's the ship's propeller. For some reason, our goal is to destroy it. And these zeppelins are going to make that easy enough. As soon as we break a zeppelin, it always kamikazes right into its own master. This zeppelin has a unique weapon, weird fireballs. See too much of it though, because it's already destroyed. At this point I have no idea how the airship is still staying in the air. But Destroying the next engine should certainly take care of that. There's probably an argument to be made against destroying the plane that you're currently on, but Kameo's having none of that. Another arrow guy. He's actually the hardest part of the entire level. Stays just slightly out of range of the bombs. He's only vulnerable right there when he's at his very closest to the edge here. So you gotta really take careful advantage of that. He only stays there for a second unless you get him with those bombs. Only that guy can do a lot of damage. Here's the last remaining troll. Give him a spectacular end. Unless he won't accept it. There we go. Take him with me. Because he doesn't have the advantage of respawns. And taking one last good look at the ship before we move on to the final boss. That health refill. Just beyond that portal is Thorne himself. Might expect from the characterization given to our villains thus far that the fight would start right now, but...
My dear sister, you never did know when you weren't welcome.
Little Kameo, you don't really think you can defeat me, do you? Let me give you a piece of advice. The candle that burns twice as bright only burns half as long. And you've already burned oh so bright. Ha! Prepare to die.
I haven't yet begun to burn, but when I do, all that will be left of you is ashes.
Such spirit! Now I see why Thena passed the power on to you, instead of the wretched excuse for an elf flittering beside me.
How dare you! The only reason you're here is because of me.
You're as gullible as your father was. Not even worth the effort it would take to kill you. But it seems Kameo isn't tainted by the blood of Salon.
Don't disrespect my father. He loved me.
Quiet! The reign of the elves has come to an end, and the light of technology shall burn like a beacon, consuming all the old ways in its flames!
So they finally gave our villains voices and personalities. Just in time for us to kill them. It's a little half-assed, but I was still really excited to see that when I first saw it. So much so that I forgave the absolutely awful animations that these guys cycle through during that cutscene. So this is the final boss. As you might imagine, best dealt with using thermite. But we don't have to. We'll have our fun with the other guys soon enough. He's got that three-way shockwave that's pretty easy to sidestep. Each time we knock him down, he stays down for longer. Eventually, he will not be getting back up. But we're only a quarter of the way there now. So this is the phase where he actually starts to become a little bit of a threat. The phase where I absolutely should not be trying to use anybody but Thermite. Yet here we are. That charge attack is especially dangerous. I'm not sure covering him in flaming oil actually did any damage, but it did set his model on fire, which looked pretty cool. I'm not sure why that didn't hit me, because that's what's supposed to happen every time it charges at you. The only reliable way to avoid it is, once again, Thermite's shield ability. This is not a good choice at all, playing chicken with him. But once he stops charging, you can rack up a lot of damage with the Cyclone. Callus's contribution is summoning elemental trolls of various sorts. She did a bunch of plant trolls last time, which were handily dealt with before they really did anything. These stone trolls are a little bit more of a threat, but the main thing they're here for is health refilling. We could very easily break this fight by putting on the Eye of Regeneration. There would be virtually no way to lose the fight. But that would be ridiculously anticlimactic, so I'm not going to do that. As such, I'm relying on heart pickups. We haven't seen Ash in a while, which is very disappointing. He's my favorite elemental warrior. But he's been so thoroughly outshined by Thermite. We've gone off the edge, but it's not an instant kill. That's very highly appreciated, because that would suck. As the ground is crisscrossed with a lattice of shockwave moves, still handily dodge out of the way, only to get hit by that charge attack. There we go. Every time he starts a charge, I happen to be in the middle of another attack that makes me too slow. Leap and the charge animation do look very similar, so I never know quite which one he's going to do. Cal seems to be alternating between stone trolls and ice trolls right now. Probably because of the phase of the fight that we're in. Knock Thorne down again, she'll start summoning different people. And I brought out Thermite to expedite that progression to the next phase. Unfortunately, I'm at my very last speck of health. So until we get some hearts, this is going to be a tense duel. I'm going to take very carefully. I.e. use the shield a lot. He's charging. And I didn't shield in time. No! Would have been a shame to have no deaths on the final boss. So, with that out of the way, we can get to the real run. Thorne's still doing his sexy hip shake from the cutscene, but no dialogue this time. And so as to ensure that I don't die again, get things done quickly with some real Thermite explosion action. All of Callus's summons are just going to be collateral damage in the way of thermite. All that shrapnel really winded him. Poor guy. Now overusing his shield just to stay safe. He's really tenacious with that charge. He will follow you for quite a while. And if he misses, he'll do it again. He only does it 2 times in a row, though. After that, he gives up, switches to another pattern. So you've seen this phase before. Just get through real quickly. Anticipated a charge attack at that point because it had been a while, but he's still just leaping around. There we go. On to the new content. Busting out the flail. We're not gonna let him get to it though. He'll pick it up later. There we go. Anytime you hit him, it resets the animation, which makes him just drag the flail along the ground. So this is actually his most harmless phase. He's got that flail. All you gotta do is stay slightly out of range. Doesn't even do that much damage. Probably should have started with that flail and then worked his way up to the charging attack. He just charged into a wall like I was trying to get that troll to do into the turbine. They never seem to want to do it when I want them to. The troll's dead. Thorne, rather. But not for long. Gonna save him. I tried to burn the corpse there. As soon as I stop being interrupted, I'm gonna try again. There we go. Now he can't come back as a zombie, except that he can. Mace again. Makes it pretty harmless. He does wreck his fellow trolls with it though, which is kind of funny. Didn't get too good of a look at it though. Callus's insane cackling means that she's summoned another wave of trolls. As much as I like the villains finally having voice actors, it's clear they didn't pay too much for them, which makes sense because they only get like 5 lines in the entire game. Really would have been nice for them to characterize these characters much, much earlier though. almost lean to our shield once again. Keeps going back to that toy. I'm not complaining though. It's nice and vulnerable. And he's down again. Can't let Callus save him this time. She's immune to bombs. Making this the only time since we've unlocked Thermite that another character is more useful than he is. It's Chilla's spears that are going to do her in.
Your family betrayed you, Callus. Chose an orphan over their own blood. Solon, you must leave immediately and tell no one of the journey. Don't worry, my king. I will tell your family where you went, should they need to know.
The Mystic is a traitor. She's been manipulating us both all along.
You're as gullible as your father was!
And you. You murdered my father, but now I will finish what he started!
Kameo, tell our family. I'm sorry.
With that last mournful bit of sequel baiting, we come to the end of Kameo Elements of Power. Game director George Andreas there, who worked on virtually every notable Rare game from the N64 era on, is no longer with the company as of January of this year. He now works for Sony, so if you have any fondness for the best-known Rare games, or if Kameo seemed like it was particularly well-directed to you, keep an eye out for his name in the coming console generation. I certainly will be, because I, for one, really enjoyed playing this game and doing the Let's Play. I've certainly had a fair share of complaints, and judging from the comments I've been left, I've made the game look like something most people are glad they never played. But that was never my intent. Overall, I think this game has a lot going for it, and all of my complaints have come from a place of love. I do wish it could have been a lot better, though, and I think it suffered terribly from being a launch title, and its years in development hell, and coming from a Microsoft-era Rare that has always struggled to satisfy its new masters, even though it clearly was not right for the job. There's a lot of stuff in the game, like the hundreds of spheres that the game forces you to roll around to specific destinations, that a studio as competent as Rare could easily have fixed if they'd considered it a problem at the time. And also, from a storyline perspective, I'm glad they finally did something with their villains at the very end there. But I hate that a game so incredibly unlikely to get a sequel would leave so much open for one. Like, the Mystic seems to have gotten away scot-free with absolutely everything, but still seems to have no motive but to collect the elemental sprites for herself, which, granted, are the ultimate sources of power in the entire world, but it still would have been nice to know what she planned to do with them if she ever got them. Even with all its flaws, though, I do want to emphasize that I've really come to love this game, and I have to thank Rubinock from the first few videos for introducing it to me and suggesting it for the subject of the Let's Play. Turned out to be a really great idea, and it never would have happened if it hadn't been for him. I'd also like to thank anyone who's stuck with me throughout the Let's Play, because you guys know it's been a pretty rocky road. It's definitely flattering to have people who are willing not only to tolerate that, but to leave very kind comments all the while. So for you guys, I'm going to be doing a bonus video showing off some stuff that was missable or otherwise non-essential, because I just can't stop playing this game. So look forward to that, and enjoy the rest of these credits. Thank you all very much for watching.
Hmm.